connected as we go into the metaverse. What we're about to do is meeting new people, having real raw conversations. We think it's going to become a lost art. So we're here to make that happen, to bring it all to you and to help you expand, learn, and grow. And we came up with a very simple mission statement. That mission statement is to bring back the lost art of genuine human connection. And I got one last thing to say, and I'm dead serious when I say this. I genuinely, and Maddie genuinely believes we were put on earth to do exactly what we're doing now. We love doing this. We love meeting new people, and it just gets us so freaking excited. We think you as family, and we love you all. So, at the base and the heart of midlife crisis, not gonna lie, it's Mikey G and Maddie Mintz. And why it is because over 30 years ago, I met this crazy SOB at the 4th grade bus stop. I swear to you, when I first laid eyes on this dude, he was perpendicular to the ground, or not perpendicular, like horizontal to the ground, hanging at a 90-degree off a stop sign. And I was like, what the hell did I just get myself into? And since that, we had a budding, flourishing relationship, been best friends our whole lives. Obviously, life got in the way. You go to college, you get married, you start businesses, things happen. Fittingly enough, our midlife crisis brought us back together, hence the name. We're older than most people in this space, but we found NFTs about a year ago, and then we said, you know what, we're really gonna create a company. As we get more connected, as we go into the metaverse, what we're about to do is meeting new people, having real raw conversations. We think it's going to become a lost art. So we're here to make that happen, to bring it all to you and to help you expand, learn, and grow. And we came up with a very simple mission statement. That mission statement is to bring back the lost art of genuine human connection. And I got one last thing to say, and I'm dead serious when I say this. I genuinely, and Maddie genuinely believes we were put on earth to do exactly what we're doing now. We love doing this. We love meeting new people, and it just gets us so freaking excited. We think you as family, and we love you all. So, at the base and the heart of midlife crisis, not gonna lie, it's Mikey G and Maddie Mintz. And why it is because over 30 years ago, I met this crazy SOB at the 4th grade bus stop. I swear to you, when I first laid eyes on this dude, he was perpendicular to the ground, or not perpendicular, like horizontal to the ground, hanging at a 90-degree off a stop sign. And I was like, what the hell did I just get myself into? And since that, we had a budding, flourishing relationship, been best friends our whole lives. Obviously, life got in the way. You go to college, you get married, you start businesses, things happen. Fittingly enough, our midlife crisis brought us back together, hence the name. We're older than most people in this space, but we found NFTs about a year ago, and then we said, you know what, we're really gonna create a company. As we get more connected, as we go into the metaverse, what we're about to do is meeting new people, having real raw conversations. We think it's going to become a lost art. So we're here to make that happen, to bring it all to you and to help you expand, learn, and grow. And we came up with a very simple mission statement. That mission statement is to bring back the lost art of genuine human connection. And I got one last thing to say, and I'm dead serious when I say this. I genuinely, and Maddie genuinely believes we were put on earth to do exactly what we're doing now. We love doing this. We love meeting new people, and it just gets us so freaking excited. We think you as family, and we love you all. So, at the base and the heart of midlife crisis, not gonna lie, it's Mikey G and Maddie Mintz. And why it is because over 30 years ago, I met this crazy SOB at the 4th grade bus stop. I swear to you, when I first laid eyes on this dude, he was perpendicular to the ground, or not perpendicular, like horizontal to the ground, hanging at a 90-degree off a stop sign. And I was like, what the hell did I just get myself into? And since that, we had a budding, flourishing relationship, been best friends our whole lives. Obviously, life got in the way. You go to college, you get married, you start businesses, things happen. Fittingly enough, our midlife crisis brought us back together, hence the name. We're older than most people in this space, but we found NFTs about a year ago, and then we said, you know what, we're really gonna create a company. As we get more connected, as we go into the metaverse, what we're about to do is meeting new people, having real raw conversations. We think it's gonna become a lost art. So we're here to make that happen, to bring it all to you, and to help you expand, learn, and grow. And we came up with a very simple mission statement. That mission statement is to bring back the lost art of genuine human connection. And I got... What up, folks? I'm unmuted and I'm looking and sounding real nice. Although, dude, this just happened. I'm just gonna side story already. Have you ever got that piercing ring in your ear? Do you ever get that?
It's called tinnitus. I have it my whole life, all day, every day.
Well, I don't know what just happened. It just hit hard, like literally hard. So, yeah, tinnitus just happened. How's it going, people? Thank you. We already got people in chat popping off. They're excited. Yeah. Morgan, the man, the myth, the legend is here. We're going to have a good time. But before, let's shout out God, Yolanda. The man. I love seeing the man's name in chat. But Maddie, how you doing, buddy? How was your day?
I am doing great. I'm doing real good, man. It is it's definitely now. So, last couple weeks I've been talking about fall's my favorite season. Love it. We are now at the point where it's not the fun part, right? It is the straight up Guns N' Roses November rain today, and it was like 34 degrees, so just above snow, but still raining. So like, when the rain touches your skin and it's like just cold and awful.
It's just not nice.
It's been that all day, man. So it is what it is. You get the good with the bad. But work's been awesome, man. Productive days. Waking up early, excited about cutting clips together. You know that. So, and we got a lot going on. So super pumped about this conversation because we were sitting in a booth in New York City last time we had a nice conversation, and it also went for about 3 hours. So here we are. It's gonna be good.
We talked a lot. Morgan's an easy person to talk to. Well, I'm glad you're doing good. I had a stellar day. I may or may not have cut videos all day, and when I got tired, hopped into a game of Modern Warfare 2. I freaking love the new Call of Duty. It's amazing.
Speaking of which, for those in chat, can we get a sound check? How are our volume levels? And then actually, Morgan, can you just say something real quick so we can see how the sound sounds for everybody?
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, that was going to be quick. I hope you all caught that. Let us know how the volume is, because I feel like we might need to adjust a little bit, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, you just let me know, man. So when
I talk, we'll do it and we'll go from there.
When I talk, I am middle of the yellow bar. When you talk, Maddie.
Yep.
You're about middle of the yellow bar.
Oh, I love that.
Morgan, say, I love you all.
I love you all, especially Maddie and Mikey.
Oh, there we go. We're doing good, man. We're doing good. I think it's sounds great. The man says it sounds
perfect.
Amazing. All right, cool. So, yeah, had a good day, played some Modern Warfare, cut some videos together. Not a lot of I still have a full-time day job, people. We're growing a company to have a full-time day job. It's about this time. This is what I love about corporate America. About now till the end of February, everyone just starts taking vacation. Literally nothing happens for 2 months. On top of it, we're going through a total reorg at work, which, by the way, I'm on my third reorg in the last 3 years. I'm basically averaging a reorg a year. So every year, it just gets upended and we start from scratch. So I'm living good right now, and I was just really excited about this conversation. Uh, but we're going to introduce Morgan, and we're going to do our new format. And I think last time we did introduce Morgan with an interesting fact, and it was something about bong rips and noises and cutting music together. But this is a new one, and I think and I hope the Rudy Roo Hardcore have not heard this one. But when he was about 7 to 10 years old, he went he went to his favorite sushi place called Sushi Fuku. So if you spell that out, imagine that. It really looks like sushi fuck you. So he would go to that a lot and he would pound some shrimp. I mean, pound some shrimp rolls to the fact that when he walked in and out of that place, eventually everyone was like, "What up, shrimp boy? Welcome back to sushi. Fuck you. We're excited that you're here and ready to be eating some shrimp." So we needed to tell
And-
that story. I think
and
the name changed.
There's a follow-up though to that, right? Because as a fellow person who suffers from the IBS, I think that the sushi did F you. That's really what happened. It was maybe the name was appropriate, and so who knows? You know what I mean? That's what happens.
What did they change the name to, Morgan? I forget. You said they had to change the name.
Yeah, they changed it to Sushi Huku because literally how it was spelled up on the billboard was Fuku, and that wasn't too keen for the
That's
people in there.
fantastic.
Dude, I'm pissed at whoever convinced them to change the name because that is
I
a
know.
fantastic branding mechanism. You go and buy that on a billboard, you're like, I have to go to Sushi FU.
And you know, here's what's crazy. Could you imagine today how much money they'd be making on merchandising? Like,
Same.
tell me you wouldn't rock that hat or that shirt now. Now it'd be
Yeah.
hilarious.
it would
Yeah.
it would be the reverse of the, I don't know if you ever read that, but apparently, like, I don't know if it was in Japan, it might still be a thing, but at one moment in time, it was like the fad in Japan that they would buy like American t-shirts, and they kind of had no clue what the hell they meant, and they just, well, it was like the end thing to do. It would be our version of that. We would just be buying this ridiculous Japanese named t-shirt because we thought it was funny as hell. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks for stopping by. It's been a while. How you been, bud?
Yeah, thank you, man. It's good to be back with you guys. Still one of my favorite sessions I've had over the last year has been with you two, like 9 months ago. So, yeah, been well. A lot of stuff going on in personal life and business life the last 9 months since we spoke. And actually, it's not been 9 months since we spoke, 9 months since our last session. We got to meet up at NFT NYC a few months ago. So, real excited about that. But yeah, I mean, happy to dive in wherever you see fit. You want me to just give like an overview, or
So
what are you
let's
thinking?
do this. I think what Maddie said was great in the beginning. Let's start with since what's been 9 months, not since we've spoken, but since you've been on the show, which is crazy because I look back, man, you were like month 2 of our show. Like, we had not had that many people on yet, and I remember vividly, like, this, you and a handful of other people were like etched in my memory of like, hey, I think we got something, this is fun, I want to do this. So I was just excited for you to come back. But I think Maddie had a good angle. Let's just talk about you as a human, like personal life, last 9 months, as much as you obviously want to divulge. And let's get into that. Like, what, when you came on the show, you obviously were still in the States. The Joeys had not yet minted. And, you were deep into figuring out the Web3 job bounty board. It was up and ready to go. But from that moment in time, take us up till now as a person and a human.
I'm going to interject. So let's do this, because somebody also might be listening that didn't hear our first conversation.
True.
So just real quick, could you give just maybe a couple minute background? Who are you? How'd you end up in the NFT space? And what got you excited about Web3 in general? Just a real quick overview.
Look at Maddie dropping knowledge.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Morgan Stone. A lot of people on social media just call me Stone. It is my actual last name. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Rue Labs, and we are most notably known for our NFT project called Rue Troop. So I got into the NFT space in fall of 2020, and I've always been fully transparent about why, which is the fact that I was producing and DJing house music a lot at the time and really trying to make my way up in that lane. And I saw some colleagues come into the space and start minting their audio visuals and make an absolute killing. They were just making bank from it. It's like, hey, I'm not making any money from streams. These shows are paying me like $1,000 max, which is nothing. How about I start doing that?
Right.
Quickly found out there was no market for it unless you're someone high tier like my colleagues I saw were. But during that time of hunting for foundation invites, minting stuff onto OpenSea, minting stuff onto Rarible, applying to Nifty Gateway, I got wrapped up in the other side of the NFT space, which was, and I say other side meaning I was in like the artist lane, I was in the creator lane when I first entered. And then I got wrapped into the degen side, the PFP, the investors, the flippers, the alpha callers, the influencers, all the great and the bad that comes with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And got really intrigued, mainly by the ability to profit off of flips and just like hunting alpha and figuring out how to trade. So kind of made a name for myself as an alpha caller over the next few months after I dove headfirst into the ecosystem and was able to grow my platform from about 1,500 followers where I started out at to about 7,000 followers and kind of positioned myself as an alpha caller, developed a community around me. They were looking for calls. We were hunting together. We were flipping together, joining so many projects, getting rugged right and left, finding amazing people through networking in these various projects, even the ones that did rug me. And during that time, I really started to fall in love with the community element and the power of attaching utility to these NFTs and the technology behind the whole boom that's going on here. So in a way, I initially viewed it as two lanes, but there's kind of three lanes, right? There's the artist lane, the creators. There's the PFP degen side where people are just flipping investing. And then there's the side where you can actually launch a business using NFTs and attaching these perks to be kind of like a loyalty program for all the people who are supporting your business. And that really intrigued me. And so I started looking for ways to plug in to communities I was already a part of. Utilizing the production skills I had was just making audio for people's promotional assets, was even making audio for people's like full on projects that they were minting, and just trying to find ways to add value wherever I could. And I kept getting stiff armed when trying to climb the ladder and really cement myself in a project long term and provide all the value I knew I could provide, but wasn't really given that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually I did find an opportunity, which led to me leading comms for a project for about 2 weeks. We did about 500 ETH volume. We sold the project out, but then just realized like working for somebody else and their vision was not what I was about. And we decided to launch our own Discord and had no plans at the time. This was last September, end of September last year. And when I say we, I mean my team and I that I built up over just being in the space, networking with all these people. And we decided to launch a no-name Discord that eventually turned into 3 months of community building with no name, no roadmap, anything attached to it. And that eventually snowballed into what you know as Root Troop today, which has one of the best utilities in the space and one of the best business models in my opinion. So it just was a very natural progression. Nothing was real premeditated. It was, hey, I'm going to jump in, see what I can learn, soak up a bunch of information, share that information, provide value to whoever I can and whoever's willing to listen, and then let's build with the community and see where it takes us. So that's about as brief as I can be about my
No, that was
entry.
perfect. And that helps people kind of bridge the gap because right around that time is when you were on this show for the first time, and that's where we were connecting. And you had a thriving project that had done well, and on top of that, you were I remember when Mikey was talking at the time, like you said, it was really all degens looking to flip, make some money, right? Utility was just kind of a buzzword, but nobody was really interested in it because they were just interested, honestly, what's the next hype project that I can buy into, flip, and make some money. And
Yep.
Mikey talked a lot about how, like, this is cool because you guys are actually building something thinking long term. And it's interesting because, that was at the time not speculation. I mean, but when we had you on the show, you were saying this is what I think it could be. We were seeing you had some short-term results. Now we have 9 months to talk about what has it been. So I think that might be a good place to follow up and go with what Mikey was saying, which is take us through now the next 9 months. What's happened since we talked last?
Sure. Um, well, I'll start on a project side, and then yeah, we can dive into the personal stuff if you
Perfect.
guys want. There's
Yeah,
obviously
that'd
been
be
a lot of changes there in the last few months. Um, so the way Root Troop started, again, it was no name back in September, October of last year, and we built community for about 3 months. We didn't launch until January of this year. That whole time, we were already offering utility to everybody in our Discord by way of bringing Web3 job opportunities into the server. And I'm going to give a brief context there because I think it's a good segue into how we're doing now.
Right.
So initially, it was my team and I, we were building up this project, but at the same time, we had been and we were continuing to advise other projects. So we were coming in and we were handling their roadmap development. I was helping them with their branding, how they were going to build up community. We had people handling smart contract development, Discord development, all that stuff, right? We'd come in for about 2 weeks, and every single project we were working with needed at least one person on their team, whether it was a Discord mod, a community manager, a Solidity dev. They needed someone, right? And they didn't know
yeah,
where the hell to find that talent. Meanwhile, I had built up this whole network of people who were hungry to build in Web3 and hungry to make this ecosystem their life, right? And just like the employers, they didn't know where to find these opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, us in the middle, we were like, okay, we're seeing all of these opportunities, we're seeing all of these talent, or seeing all of this talent, let's pair them up. And so it was a very manual process in the beginning. And again, there were no holders. This was something we were just doing to provide value to the community. We were bringing those opportunities into the Discord. We were interviewing people, maybe dozens of people per opportunity. We were picking someone, we were training them up, we were working with them on that other project, and then we would leave them there to have a full-time position or not, if they decided not to after a couple weeks, right? But point being, it's a very manual process of connecting talent and employers in Web3. There was no real place for them to congregate. So as we moved through that process, it was just like in Discord at first. We ended up building out the Root Troop Bounty Hub, which is a very bare bones Web3 job board, which you can find at roottroop.com/jobs. Anybody can see job listings over a week old. Only our partners and our holders can see jobs in that first week they are posted. Just like everything else in the space, job opportunities, they move quick. And so being quick to jump on those opportunities is really crucial.
Right.
sure.
So the Root Troop Bounty Hub has been in existence this whole time. We have seen over 1,000 job opportunities posted, including from companies like Time Magazine and DraftKings, and huge projects in the space as well. We have landed over 150 people jobs successfully that we know of. Getting that information back from employers has proven to be ridiculously tough.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we have successfully carried out the mission of being a place for employers and talent to congregate for Web3 opportunities. Along that kind of mission, we realized there was something happening that was highlighted in Web3, but exists in the entire job market, which is that there's fraud on both sides. Mainly the fact that people applying to positions are just lying on their resumes. They're saying they have all this experience. They say they worked for this project, that company. They say they have these skills and capabilities, and they just don't. They end up shitting the bed on the job. And then you get angry employers coming back to us like, hey, this person can't do the job they said they could. And on the flip side, you've got applicants being like, hey, I applied to this job, I've been working for it for a couple weeks. Doesn't really seem legit. Like, it doesn't seem like they're an actual project or an actual business. And so you've got
Mm-hmm.
employers lying about opportunities that they really just don't have. And
Right.
so we dug into that further, And turns out it is, like I said, highlighted here, but a real issue in the broader job
Yeah.
market. So 33% of Americans admit to lying on their resumes. Only 34% of employers actually fact check those resumes, which leads to very high turnover rates, which is both cost and labor intensive for employers, right? And so I got with Corey, my business partner and CTO of Root and it was like, hey man, similar to how NFTs are providing proof of ownership on the blockchain, like I can buy this JPEG and everybody can see it's mine. I can price it at what I want. I can trade it however I want. Can we do something similar with a job marketplace and bring that on chain to where it's providing proof of work experience, job history, skills, and capabilities, and also verifying employers actually work for companies they say they are working for? Corey's like, well, I don't see why not. He's the most big brain person like I've ever met. I tell him this all the time. So Corey, if you're watching this, I love you and your big brain. But he's like, yeah, absolutely, man, we can do that. And so over the last, I would say 10, 11 months, that's what we've been working towards, is building the first on-chain job marketplace. And now we are super, super close to rolling out a V1 and unveiling the name, the branding, the sign up and waitlist flow, which is really exciting. But that is kind of the flagship initiative, flagship product of Root. But we got so much other stuff going on, right? I think last time we spoke, we were just getting ready to mint our Joeys, which is the companion collection of Root. But an interesting mechanic there. It's not really meant to expand the community heavily. It was more so meant to reward our current community. They were able to mint those either with Rula or like a negligible price in ETH, and they never even got to public sale because the community just ate them up. And so there's a bit of game theory going on there. They minted Joey Bean incubators. They're literally like these little incubator things. You can see one right there in my background. That's an incubator. And they have the option of incubating them for 12 weeks to turn it into a fully grown Joey or leaving it as an incubator. Joeys can be staked like the Ruse. We've got a whole staking mechanism. It's rarity based. You earn Rula, which can be used in our shop, which I'll talk about in a second. But the incubators cannot be staked. But we've hinted at, we've been purposefully ambiguous this whole time, that there might be some perks later on for those holding incubators versus Joeys. So it's been really fun to watch how that's played out. I think that was a main talking point of our last session.
Yeah.
And so far, I think it's pretty split, like 50-50 have incubated. So there's like, they're in the same collection on OpenSea. You can see fully grown Joeys, you can see incubators, and it's like 50-50 right now, I believe. But to briefly touch on what Rula is, and then I'll let you guys ask whatever you see fit, because I don't want to ramble here.
No, this is your time to ramble. Remember this. This is your spotlight, man. Go for it. Ramble on.
We've got so much going on. It's hard to like pick and choose what to highlight, right? But I do want to highlight our Rula shop because I think it's a very unique shop and use case for an ERC20 currency that no other project has implemented so far.
Okay.
Which is on one side, normal stuff, right? We upload NFTs, we upload whitelist opportunities from time to time. We've uploaded tickets to our IRL events there, and people can claim those in Rula, right? There's no extra cost incurred. The really cool thing which we rolled out recently is the ability to list, buy, and sell, well, I guess that's the same thing. List and buy services from both the community as well as the team. So the community holders can go in and say, for instance, I'll give an example, two examples. One, we've got one community member who came in and said, hey, I'll code up your smart contract, or hey, I'll code you up some Twitter sales bots for your collections, and you pay me in Rula. And that Rula goes directly to that person. We don't take any fee out of it, and they are able to profit off of their own services. We've got another person in our community, OS Kizzle, if you're watching, shout out to you because I fucking love this story. He owns a small business which revolves around selling live insects, specifically live mealworms. And so he has uploaded onto our shop two different options to buy either a bundle of 3,000 live mealworms or 5,000 live mealworms, which you can purchase in Rula. He gets the Rula, then he ships you out live mealworms. And you probably think, what the hell are mealworms used for? That's what I thought initially too. But they've been picked up heavily because apparently there's a lot of holders who have reptiles as pets, and mealworms are the main source of food for those pets.
Right.
So, we've essentially created this
Yeah.
roulette economy. And the other cool thing here is that even if you're not a holder, if you are a project founder from another community, can donate your NFTs to our shop. Give us your treasury address. We will implement that. So when people buy your NFTs, the RULA that they are spending goes to your treasury, which then you can disperse amongst your community. And we get this great cross pollination going on. And I think that's just been fucking beautiful to see. It's no cost to us, it's beneficial to all the other parties. And it makes having a shop like this way more sustainable than thinking, oh, we're going to continuously put $10,000 worth of NFTs in it week after week.
Yep.
So yeah, that's been really successful so far. If you guys have any services you want to prop up on the Roulette shop, hit me up. Love to list them for you.
I love it, dude.
But yeah, I guess briefly touch on NFT NYC since we last spoke. Threw a party at NFT NYC, got to connect with a lot of holders, a lot of founders, and just friends in the space who I'd been connected with for a while. Hosted a panel there about finding work in Web3 and how to do that. And also got to connect with you two beautiful folks. We had a 3-hour marathon lunch, which I think was supposed to only be like 45 minutes or an hour. We blocked off and we just sat there for hours and hours. So, yeah, man, just been able to connect with a lot more people, both virtually and in person, which has been fantastic.
Yeah.
And everything on the Root Troop front is just like going beautifully, holding strong through the bear. Community's happy, and yeah, real stoked.
I will say it definitely shows that you built a Discord for community, and that was what intrigued you because even through this, I'm in that group chat on Twitter, and I just see a lot of Rue stuff. So props to you for cultivating that, which is fantastic. I do, since you brought up NFT one NYC there at the end, I'd love to hear like your honest opinion about the experience. Maddie and I went on a big rant about how we thought the conference was kind of crappy, and that the education side wasn't what we thought. Obviously the connecting, but I'd love to hear your side. And I vividly remember you like talking about how you were nervous about the doing the presentation, and just love to hear a review of how that went, and any other thoughts there.
Well, I think briefly, the briefer side of that is to touch on how the talk went, and then we can dive into the conference bit.
Okay.
So yeah, I was a fucking nervous wreck before that. My whole life, I've been terrified of public speaking, like getting up in front of class and presenting, like just visibly shaking, like stomach just going insane, like sweating everywhere, and I always end up crushing it. Like, and that's not like hockey thing. It's just I end up doing well, even if I'm shaking through the whole thing. I think I've gotten way better at that over the last year being in this space specifically, because of all the spaces, because of all the AMAs, and I've been able to establish this rapport with our community and even broader community where people respect what I'm saying and they do come to learn things. And at the end of the day, they know who I am. I've been very real. I've been very transparent, which allows me to be real during these talks. So I feel like I've gotten better at it in a sense, but that was the first in-person large-scale speaking event I think I've ever had to do, and I was just a nervous wreck, as you guys know. It went fantastic though. I was prepared. I was rehearsing like crazy. I didn't drink an ounce of alcohol that whole trip. It was a business trip for me. That's not saying much to my friends who know me. I don't really drink much anyway, but those at NFT NYC should take that into account. It was a big party scene, and so I really stuck to my guns with just treating it as a business trip and going to put on for Ruse and try and get as much content from that speaking session as possible. And I was up on stage I was really lucky to be up on stage with two industry vets, two people who have so much more experience than I do. One, the CEO of Sandstorm, who I think you guys are familiar with. His name's Steve. And then the CEO of Proof of Learn, she is developing. But also, she is the former founder of Care.com, which is a huge business.
Yeah.
And so I was really lucky because when we were prepping to go up on the stage for the panel, I was just open with them. It's like, look, like I'm nervous as shit right now. You guys have any tips? And they're both so caring. They're like, oh, we're gonna make this a great experience for you. We'll prop you up. We'll ask you the questions you want. Like, look here. Like, project loudly. Be confident. And it just went great. I went up there, had my clutching my water bottle, taking sips between questions, and got to talk the talk. And up until that, like the night before, the morning of, I was just in the mirror for like an hour straight, going over my talking points, like really rehearsing the shit out of it. And, not sticking to a form, but just expanding on points that I knew.
Right.
So it went fantastic. We got some great video content from it, which we've been able to share on socials. There's a little YouTube video out on the Root Troop YouTube if you guys are interested in checking that out. But yeah, went fantastic.
We'll link to that when we post this video, because I'll cut this out on Morgan's behind the scenes speech review. That's just a little ditty right there.
Please do.
And then yes, NFT NYC Morgan's review. Love to hear this.
So look, anybody from NFT NYC is listening. I speak the way I speak on every scenario. I'm not ragging on you. This is supposed to be constructive criticism here. But you kind of shit the bed for the speakers. And so you can split this up into two parts, right? NFT NYC was a fantastic experience for me. And I'm pretty sure everybody that went feels the same way. It was a great experience and worth going to, right? The reason it was great going to, though, is not because of the conference. It was because of all of the parties and all of the big projects in the space actually throwing events there. It was the first time that I had experienced, and I think it was the first time that like the amount of communities that did involve themselves got involved in an IRL event for NFTs for Web3. And so going to all of these little sub parties, having the opportunity to meet up with you guys and go out to lunch for a few hours, going to meet up with the whole Sappy Seals team, the whole Llamaverse team, really party with them. And when I say party, again, I wasn't drinking. I was just being there, being social. I was smoking a little weed, you know how we do. But
I think you might have posted a couple tweets of you doing that as well.
Yeah.
I probably did. That doesn't surprise me. But all the events were really great. It was cool to see all of these communities congregating together in New York. All these dinners, all these lunches, breakfasts being planned with founders or top holders or just whoever, and being able to walk around and like this isn't like a ego stroking thing. It was just cool for the first time to have people be like, "Hey Stone, hey Rudy Roo, hey Rutru, hey Morgan." And it's like, hey, I don't know who you are, but you know me because I'm Dogs, but like, nice to see you. It's like, this is me on Twitter. And it's like, oh, fuck, I know you. We've been talking for the last year. And like, that part was just invaluable, right? To be able to meet, solidify all these relationships that have been developed over the last year is just insane. But the conference side, it sucked. I was a speaker. I was invited to the VIP speaker event on the night before the actual conference started.
Yeah.
And it was a mess. Getting my credentials for a speaker took like 2 hours. It was a zoo in there.
Yeah.
Mind you, this is like still like COVID's still fucking going strong in New York, and like it was a zoo at that hotel for registration. There wasn't much direction. I didn't receive my speaker slot, what the topic was, what the time was, who I was on with until like a week before the event. Mind you, I got confirmed to be a speaker like 3 months before. And I reached out so many times. Nobody would tell me when the hell I was speaking. So that was adding to the anxiety of the whole trip, right? I just didn't know what I was speaking on and when I was doing it. So it made planning the rest of the trip really difficult up until when I got told. I really think they dropped the ball with onboarding as many speakers as they did, and
Yes.
also splitting up the locations of speakers. And the reason for that is one, like Look, it's great they want to give opportunities to people to speak and get up on stage and produce their own content. And yes, it's great. They want to rake in as much money as they can by blasting out, oh, we have so many speakers and, these people blasting that out to their networks and those people buying tickets, right? I think we can tell where the mindset was, and it was on the business model.
Right.
Okay. I don't think that's sustainable moving forward. And the reason is nobody pulled up to the speaking events.
Yep.
There was so much just fluff in the speaker list that like people just wrote off the whole thing. I remember for weeks in advance, people were just clowning the speaker list on Twitter, talking about why the fuck would I buy a conference ticket when so and so random, and they would post like a screenshot of some random person on the speaker list. Why would I buy a $1,000 ticket to this conference to hear this person I've never heard of speak?
Yeah.
And I think by diluting
Yeah.
the speaker kind of just like a group of speakers,
Yeah.
they really screwed over people like me who have been working in this space for a long time to make a name and make a platform for myself.
Yeah. Yep.
Because people just wrote off all the speakers because the fluff was highlighted, right?
Yep.
There
Yeah.
were fantastic speakers there, right? It's not just me. There were some amazing minds there who have been in this space. They're entities. They've got 100,000 followers on Twitter, and they're hard people to reach, and they're hard people to get in a room with, to listen to, and glean knowledge from. But those weren't highlighted. The
Yeah.
fact that there was 1,000 speakers was highlighted, and that's what people latched onto, and they just wrote off the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so at my event, surprised if there was even 20 people in the crowd.
Yeah.
Like that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I fly out to New York to speak on this topic. I'm rehearsing for hours and hours and hours, and we get there and there's 20 people in the crowd
Right.
because you have split the venues. There was like 3 or 4 or 5 different venues,
Yeah.
and they were
Yeah.
all across town, and you didn't publicize the timing until a week before. Like, what do you
Yeah.
think?
And I mean, think about it. If you were speaking and you found out a week before, as people who were going as just guests to the event, you want to know how well they did telling us where anything was? I mean, I wouldn't, who knew? It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was
I mean, I vividly, I think it was like day 3, and Maddie pulled up a tweet, and it was this dude. I don't even know who the speaker was, but it was a picture of Radio Music City Hall completely empty, like not one person in a seat. And he goes, just
Empty
had
room.
an awesome time speaking at NFT NYC. Oh, dude, it's so that. I mean, what other time are you gonna get an empty Radio Music City Hall and be able to speak? Well, that guy got that opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, total good feedback. It was a cluster. Me as an attendee, I did exactly what you were talking about, or what Matt just talked about. Getting into Radio Music City Hall required a different ticket. It was a complete cluster, and that took like an hour and a half for me to finally get in. I sat through the first one, and I was like, this is stupid. I'm just going to go meet everybody that's, been on our roster, on our show. That is a way more productive use of my time.
Yeah.
I mean, they had random Joe Schmoes with a couple hundred followers and no projects speaking about community building and how to like sustain a project and keep attention from your crowd, right? And it's just like, why the fuck is anybody going to take their word for that? Why wouldn't you get myself, Wab, Pons, like a couple other founders who are like big on community up on a stage together and have a session that I bet 1,000 people would come to?
Exactly.
It was just like, you can tell their minds were focused on the money and not the actual experience.
Right.
And the flip side to that is, not the flip side, but the other side to it is, the speaking, a whole mess, right? We could talk about that for ages. But even just going to the main conference location at that main hotel, I was really looking forward to going there, hitting booths, networking with people, getting in front of investors and getting in front of, big names and talking about the product. Like, I was really stressed for our dev team that I needed a working prototype of our on-chain job marketplace to take there. There were only like 5 people I talked to that was like worthwhile showing.
Right.
Other than that, you walk around, you don't recognize anybody. There's booths for just random products that you have no idea about. And I'm rooted in this space. Like, I've been here a while. I know who the players are, and they were not at the conference.
Yeah.
So it's really detrimental to somebody like me who's really looking to get a lot of value out of the networking there. I networked
Absolutely.
with people I already knew and people that they knew at the parties, but in the actual conference,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, there will be consequences because they might have gone for the money last year, but attendance next year is going to be a little bit
a
dicey.
little abysmal. And
I
then
just got my I got my email yesterday. Actually, I laughed at it. I literally out loud laughed at this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Morgan, speaker applications for NFT NYC 2023 have opened up. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck you! I'm not gonna apply to
Yeah.
this. That was such a waste.
There is a
Yeah.
0%, literally a 0% chance I spend money to go NFT NYC. There's just
Yeah.
no logic in my mind that it makes sense to spend thousands of
Yep.
dollars to get back east to
Now,
go to that.
but does it make sense to be in New York during the event to meet the friends and do what we have all agreed was the most successful part of it? Yes, but here's the cool part. For just the price of Mike and I's ticket, we can accomplish that.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that a lot of people, I think. But yeah, that's
Or I
NFT
can
NYC.
drive, or I'll drive up to LA, which is an hour from
Yeah.
my place
For sure.
next year, and that's where I'll spend my time.
Correct.
Um,
Correct. But
well-
speaking of NFT NYC, the real sushi FU was at Smash Burger, and that is why Mikey
Did you
missed
hear
your
that
party.
story, Morgan?
Wait, what?
You didn't hear
So
how I
Mikey
got
was not at your
smashed
party.
Smash Burger?
I was
this
at your
the local
party.
night, or what happened here?
I'll let Maddie condensed version because I know you like
Condensed
to go
version,
deep.
no. Mikey got tore up. He ate a bad Smash Burger and was devastated for about, I don't know, honestly, about 14 hours, and he rallied better than I've ever seen anybody rally. I was not prepared for how quickly he turned it around, but when he was in the depths of it, bro, he was fighting demons.
I thought I was gonna
those
die.
demons, man, they had a T-shirt that said, Smash Burger FU for sure. It was
I
it was
think
bad.
it might have been the onset of the COVID. Dude, we were sick for 3 months after that, dude.
Yeah.
I got strep.
COVID for the first time after that too. We all did.
Dude.
So
Yeah.
bad.
But then after we got
Crazy.
over COVID, I remember this. Maddie's like, bro, I think I'm getting sick again. And, of course, I'm as his buddy dogging him. I'm like, dude, you're such a wuss. I can't believe you're getting sick again. And sure enough, literally that night, I start getting sick again. We both got strep at the exact same time. And then when I got done strep, I got it again. I literally was sick from NFT NYC to like the beginning of September. It was miserable.
That was
So-
weird. Like, I don't think we ever talked about that because I got COVID as soon as I got home from NFT NYC. I was out of commission for about 2 weeks there. Then I moved to New Zealand, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. And after a week, I just got floored with a hard flu. And then I recovered about 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And then another 2 weeks went by, and I got floored again by another flu. Mind you, like, I wasn't going out. I wasn't going like to raves. I wasn't kissing a lot of people. Like,
Yeah.
I was doing literally nothing and I got strep twice. It was miserable. And I thought COVID was bad. Dude, strep might have been worse. That shit
Yeah.
will take you out. But yeah, it was bad. I
I'm
went
glad
down
we're
a
all
short cold.
recovering.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now that we're all somewhat recovered, I'm still sitting weird in this damn gamer chair because
Everybody,
I don't
knock on
know
some
how it
wood.
affected it, but I don't. Bro,
You
just
got to
anyway,
get a new
I'm just
chair,
old.
bro. Every day you sit in that gamer
I'm moving
chair.
soon. I'm moving soon. I'm not gonna, I gotta. It's like I'll get a new chair when I move. But all right, so we've talked about the project. Now let's rewind. What's been going on with Morgan this whole time?
Wait.
How's
Hold
it
on.
been?
Hold on before we get there.
Mike's got some juice.
I'm rewinding. I wrote down a couple notes as you were telling the root troop stuff, and you said a couple really interesting things. And now it makes sense that you went, down the rabbit hole on the job process and figuring out how to put it on chain. But this whole concept of fraud coming back up, I would love to hear just like in your mind. So obviously people lying on the resumes and, I think a lot of employers on the fraudulent side, post these beautiful jobs, these picturesque jobs that really just don't exist, right? They're signing up for something completely different, actually, and these people are
It's
getting
actually
duped.
Cutco.
Do you have any? Like, I don't know, like personal, but like just interesting stories around that to share, or something that comes to mind in the frog stuff? Because I'm just interested in that, and what your thoughts are on how to combat it, or just some interesting fraud stories that you can share with us.
I mean, won't necessarily go into actual stories of, this person signed up for this job and they
Yeah,
wanted
no,
this.
I don't need names. I
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
Yeah.
more of like you're
Mhm.
really seeing it in let's say mods. A lot of people are lying about their mod jobs. Are there different types of roles? Is it kind of throughout all the different roles, different players, different type of companies? Any thoughts there?
Everything. I will also say there have been several instances in the early stages of Root Troop and the Bounty Hub where employers came back and they were like, this person can't do the mod job. They aren't actually a Solidity dev, they're a Python dev. Or, hey, they
Mm.
said that they would sell out our project and got all this marketing experience, and look where we're at. So it exists on every single front, literally every industry. And what I will say to that point is basically every time I bring up those stats, somebody in the room laughs and they're like, "Oh, that's me." And when I was giving my talk at NFT NYC, you saw people in the crowd and they're like, I posed it differently. I was like, "How many of you have lied on your resume?" And everybody, hand
Right,
up. And
right,
looking at my own experience, yeah, I've lied on my resume before.
right,
That doesn't mean I won't solve the issue, right? That exists. I know it exists firsthand.
right.
Statistically, one of us has lied. And I am taking the bullet here. I'll raise my hand, but I imagine both of you have in some capacity as
Well,
well.
and to be fair, there's a dude from Twitter who's got on his resume that he spoke at Radio City Music Hall. That's
Yeah,
true.
That is
That
true.
is true. He
it
just
is
didn't speak
true.
to anybody listening.
Yeah. I mean, look, like that stuff, sure. But
I know. I'm teasing.
the meat of it is people will say, "Hey, I worked at this job for 3 years and I got all this experience," when in reality they worked there for 1 year.
Yeah,
Or, "Hey, I did all of these positions at this company," when in reality they only did this, which required these skills and not all of these skills, which they're
Yeah,
saying they have.
right.
And
for sure.
so the way Change Job Marketplace is going to combat that. I'm not going to go too deep into the mechanics, but it is essentially utilizing SBTs, if you've heard of those, which are soul-bound tokens. They're essentially NFTs that get transferred to a wallet that can never be transferred out of that wallet. And so, how this is going to work is an employer will post a job listing, people will apply to it. After they accept the job listing, the employer will say, okay, job has now been picked up by this person, and they confirm that, which then mints an SBT that is sent to that user's wallet. And that SBT is immutable except for the point at which both parties say the job has ended, right? And so after both parties have said, okay, it's been 2 years, we're coming back to this, the job has ended, now that SBT is truly immutable. Everybody can see, hey, you worked this job, which required these skills for this amount of time.
Right.
And the employer is going to be incentivized and prompted to review the employee based on the skills that were called upon in that job description that they accepted. So if they accepted a job for a marketing manager and they needed skills like relationship building, networking, ability to use Salesforce and SalesLoft and build out marketing campaigns. When that job ends, the employer is going to get prompted to rate them on those skills specifically. It's not going to be, hey, how was this employee? Or, hey, write a free form response. And when those reviews are submitted, that is also on the blockchain. There's a transaction involved in the background, and that gets minted, added to the SBT, reviews baked in. You see these on the person's profile, and there is no question about whether they did that job, how they said they could do the job.
Right. And so really interesting idea, but then it also still brings up yet again another fraud question, right? Because hiring managers or employees, they could rate them shitty because maybe something, let's be honest, I work in corporate America. The worst part about corporate America is the politics and the high school fights, right? So if this employee was actually really good, did everything they said, but just left a bad taste in somebody's mouth, they could shit on them on their ratings. Do you guys talk about that, or, um, what are your thoughts around that process?
Yeah, absolutely could. And I'll preface this by saying, look, at the end of the day, nobody's going to solve the issue entirely.
Right.
What we are aiming to do is add friction to the issue,
Yeah.
right? We are trying to deter those fraudulent instances from occurring.
Right.
Can an employer take it out on their reviews? Absolutely.
Right.
Um, will the employee have the option to hide reviews?
Right.
Probably.
Right. Right.
That'll be an option as well. They
Yeah.
just won't be able to say they did stuff they didn't do.
Yeah.
There will also be a reporting flow, which we're still working out the kinks on and requires a little bit more work. Um, Essentially, someone can say, hey, I did this job the last 2 years, and my employer just submitted the reviews, and these are bullshit, and look into them. And so
Yeah.
we'll figure out a flow to go back and try and verify and see what happened and kind of interject there.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like I said, not going to solve this problem 100%. We're
Uh-huh.
going to do a
Uh-huh.
lot more than traditional marketplaces are doing in their current state.
Right. Yeah. And I say that more as like, I don't expect you to give us an answer. It's more food for thought because maybe that's a massive improvement to be able to prove undeniably that this person worked there. And, the big bottleneck here in traditional companies is, you got to get in touch with HR. You got to go through their systems are different and all their information's buried with, it's not going to talk to the new systems wherever the new employers are. You can quickly just say, at least the person did the job. So that is probably a great, like just V1 without having to go down this whole review rabbit hole because that then just makes it super complex and nuanced. But the
It,
S.
it really it really helps everybody involved in the hiring flow.
Hmm.
This morning and like recently, I've been connecting with so many recruiters, recruiting agencies, just to pick their minds and glean knowledge from them. And this morning, I was talking with someone who had, I think he said 22 years in the recruiting realm under his belt. And I asked him all these questions for like 40 minutes. And the last one I asked him was, how often do you fact check resumes as the lead headhunter at this huge recruiting agency?
Right.
And he laughed. And he says, never.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so, and for him, sure, he had enough business to where it may not have mattered. But what he also said was interesting, which is that some employers will require that of the recruiting agencies they're working with to say, we're only going to work with you if you promise to actually fact check and call references on all applicants that you get for these positions. And so
Mm,
for a recruiting agency like his, you're leaving money on the table because you can't work with those companies, at least in a morally sound way. You can't sleep well at night working with those companies, knowing that you're not going to actually fact check anything.
right.
So it really just helps everybody in the process.
Love it. No, no, thanks. And I think that it's just good conversation to have. I think it makes for good content to hear people on your thoughts on how you're navigating this because it's a very complex problem to solve. And like you said, you're not going to 100% solve it. It's just impossible to do that. Maddie, any thoughts before we move on to kind of Morgan Stone, the real man, myth, the legend as a person?
I think it was a great conversation, and the best part is that all of the things I was going to say or comment on, Morgan, you already said, right? Which is that it's an unsolvable problem to be perfect on it, right? But it can be better, and it being better is worth the investment of going into it. And like you said, I mean, the issue here is human. If you got a top headhunter that doesn't want to actually check resumes, because by the way, they get paid when they place jobs, right? So finding out people are lying on their resumes takes out, according to you, 31% of their applicants. There's just no financial benefit to it, right? And so that's how the world works. You follow the money. So yeah, I think it's a fascinating concept to take the technology and improve it. But again, when the kink in the hose is human, it's technology can't fix it, right? And so it's going to be interesting to see kind of where that goes. But no, I think it's great. I am really curious to get into the human side of things. And by the way, chat has been hilarious. Having a good time in chat here with YouTube.
What's
What are
chat
you guys
doing?
watching right now?
Well, we were talking about NFT NYC, and then let's see here. I was complaining about my chair, so it was mentioned I should just create an OF so that way I can buy a new one.
I don't
And
know
then there
what an
went a whole
OF
rant on
is.
that.
What is an OF?
It's OF is OnlyFans. So I need to
Oh,
sell some. I need to sell some feet pics. Just kidding. Get
you
that
need to
ASMR
just
going
take that
real
shirt
nice.
off and show that 8-pack ribs, bruh. That's what you need
I
to
mean,
do.
Did you just say 8-pack ribs?
Yeah,
That's
you
what it
got
is.
the
It's the ribs,
ribs.
folks. It's the ribs
You
that
got
you
the
need to
eight
see on
pack.
OF. That's
Listen,
what it is.
I just throw words together, man. I make new
Jeez.
things. Now people really want you to take your shirt off because they're like, "What the
Well,
hell's an 8-pack rib?"
speaking of ripped, going into personal life, Morgan, how's everything going? We started a whole conversation about you getting into shape, getting jacked,
Well,
getting your lifting on.
tell everybody
There-
what's been going on behind the scene a little bit.
Yeah,
Maddie has been giving Morgan a little bit tips on the old working out in the
nothing
gym.
crazy.
Nothing crazy, but personal training, health, and all that stuff
It
is
is what I do
important
every
to
day.
you.
Yeah, man. So last we spoke, assuming that was probably in like February or March, um, I had completely fallen off of all things health and fitness. And for some context, I grew up playing competitive tennis. I played for 16 years from ages like 6 to 22. I played at two different Div 1 colleges, and I was a freak athlete my whole life. Working out on court, training, conditioning, probably a total of like 8 hours a day between those three things, right? Post college, I took some time to do what I never got to do before, which was be a lazy piece of shit.
Yeah,
Smoke a lot of weed, never work out, eat whatever the hell I wanted, and just be a normal human. Luckily, I think my metabolism that I developed over those 16 years carried over into those few years post college,
yeah,
and I didn't gain a lot of weight, which is kind of part of the issue. And other context there. I've got a stomach disease called SIBO, which it has a lot of issues that we could talk about another time. But one of them is that it's really hard for me to retain nutrients because I go to the bathroom way more than most people do. We're not going to dive too deep into that, but just know it's hard for me to keep weight. And so this whole time that I, took off from training, eating right, yada yada, I got real skinny. I lost all my muscle mass and like I was getting sick again. I was just like had nothing in me. I felt weak. I felt lazy. I felt tired, lethargic.
right.
And it's just not good. I was also losing confidence because my whole life I was like very cut, very lean. And, we're men. We like to look at ourselves in the mirrors. It makes us feel good. Uh, but I wasn't having that the last few years. And so I realized that it had come time to get back on that horse. And so I think it was probably May or June. I was speaking with Maddie. I was also speaking with Gio, who is holder relations at Root Troop and, very, very into health and fitness. And both of you guys really, really helped me get back on that horse, put together a really personal training program. Let me know kind of some best tips and practices that I could be implementing to get to the goals that I had. And these were specific goals to me. These weren't just, hey, like I want to be this big, this way, blah, blah. It was like, hey, I want to be this way and want to be able to do this, that, and the other. You guys put together specific plans, specific eating habits, specific calorie intake, protein intake, all that. And I was doing really well for like 2.5 months. And then I got COVID after NFT NYC, and I fell off again for about 2.5 months
Yeah,
there.
it wrecked me too,
Um,
man. It wrecked me too.
Dude, destroyed.
it's horrible. I like made so much progress. I was taking progress photos every week, sending them to Geo, and like we could like see the incremental changes. It's great. And I was going up in weight, and then I just dropped off again, and all that went away. But I am happy to say, over the last 4 weeks, I am back on the horse. We've got a home gym here in my flat in New Zealand. Very simple, just a bench, a mirror, and some dumbbells, and also a bar. And yeah, working out 5 times a week, hiking at least 2 times a week, really making a point of taking my dog out on weekends and, going to all these crazy scenic places in New Zealand and just grinding through the Monday through Friday and still hitting my hour and a half of lifting during the week.
Yeah, that's
Damn,
awesome.
Um,
dude, you're hitting it on all fronts. I love it.
I love it.
yeah,
It's good,
got it.
man.
So
Did you figure
yeah,
out the pre-workout? That was the last conversation. It was a quick one.
I decided not to. Most
I
people,
think that's
including
smart. I think that's
yourself,
smart.
Most people, including yourself, are like, just get back into it. You'll get the bug again, and you don't need all this crap. And that's
Yep.
what happened. I committed to it for the first week and a half again. I was like, fuck it. Like, even if I'm telling myself no, I'm gonna go downstairs and I'm gonna work out. And it's addicting. Every time I start working out again, I shoot myself in the foot. I'm like, why the hell did I stop working out?
Right.
Like,
It's
there's
so much
all these
easier to keep
reasons
doing it.
there's so many things that go through your head to talk yourself out of it. Like, oh well,
Yeah.
it's easier to just roll up the joint now, or hey, like I really want to watch an episode of this, or hey, I want to keep working for another 3 hours, or hey, I'm gonna do this, that, and the other. But in reality, you go down, you work out for an hour, and everything else in your life becomes better.
Mm-hmm.
You're more
Yep.
productive, you're more focused, you're more motivated, more confident, you're able to talk better, and it's just like less fog.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
And so
yeah.
you brought up another little personal alpha note that you are now hiking in um, New Zealand in a new place. So can you talk about the move, how it's been going? I mean, if you want to talk about why you did it, if not, no big deal. And since the move, how's it going, man? What's the new life like? Fill us in.
Yeah, just briefly on why is one, my best friend in the whole world, his name's Jack. He and I were roommates and teammates at Boise State playing tennis together. We were both transfers to Boise State, lived together. He's a Kiwi from Auckland, and he lived
Mm,
after college, and we had all these plans to travel together in Europe, and COVID wiped that out completely. I have historically known that I will end up somewhere outside of America. Grew up there, never really felt connected to it in any way. Really attracted to other cultures. I was always exposed to other cultures, specifically through tennis. It's a very international community.
yeah.
And so was able to realize that there's so much more out there that I enjoy much more than being in the States. So it was just like, hey, well, Jackson, New Zealand, they're English speaking. It shouldn't be too tough of a move. It's beautiful. I love going out and hiking. I've got this dog who's got an insane amount of energy. She's a Dutch Shepherd, German Shepherd, Australian Shepherd mix, and she's just a nutcase.
Yeah.
And so going somewhere where I can open her up off leash and like do these insanely scenic hikes, which is great for my mental, great for her mental, and all the while I get to be back with my best friend. It's like no brainer to me. Plus,
That's
I love
cool.
I love the Kiwi accent. I could listen to him talk
Mm.
forever. So, um, no, the move's been great. I moved out here end of July. My dog followed about 7 weeks later. She got here in September, middle of September. Um,
I heard that
got a flat.
wasn't cheap, getting a dog to and from New Zealand.
Ridiculous.
I don't understand why it's so. Well, I guess you are on the other side of the world, so
It's a cash grab, man. One, the plane ticket costs like twice as much as my plane ticket cost.
yeah.
Two, they have to quarantine for 2 weeks when they get here, which is another couple grand. And three, there's all these tests and like
Uh,
certifications they have to get before being allowed in, which cost a shitload of money. And if they fail those tests, which she failed a couple of them, they got to get them again, and you got to pay again. So all
Uh,
in, it ended up costing me like 10K USD, which is like 15K NZD to get her over here.
that's
It was
insane.
ridiculous.
I love it. I love that we're starting to use the NFT Web3 terminology. That is the definition of a cash grab. I
That's what
mean,
yeah,
my mind was doing.
you
come
got
on,
rugged
man.
by New Zealand.
You just
Yeah,
got rugged by New Zealand and you're
yeah, man.
Hey,
That's what happened.
thankfully they let me in. Thankfully they let the pup in. My thing was like my parents were like really on my ass. They're like, "Hey, Nova can live here with us and Sully. Like she'll have a friend. It'll be a great time." I was like, "Are you fucking crazy to think I'm going a year without my dog? Like I've
right.
had this dog since she was 6 weeks old and this big, and now she's like 75 pounds and huge.
Right.
Like no, it's my baby."
Yeah.
Um, But no, I mean, the move here has been fantastic. It's really funny. A lot of people are like, wow, isn't New Zealand super expensive? Like, how are you affording that? And my rent is cheaper here. Eating out is cheaper here. Everything's cheaper here than living in Southern California or the Bay Area, besides gasoline and grocery prices. Going to the
Mm.
grocery is insane. Limes cost like $40 a kilogram. Like, what the fuck is that? And garlic is like 25 a kg.
That
Meanwhile, like eating out at restaurants is way cheaper than eating out at restaurants in California. So,
that is weird. How about
yeah,
electronics? Electronics got to be expensive too. Nah?
electronics not bad,
Hmm.
no. And then my rent is significantly cheaper than it was in
Right.
the States.
Right.
You
Significant.
are comparing it to one of the pricier areas, though.
That's
Just
why I
say,
say it's funny because like I came from a really pricey area in the
Right.
yeah,
States. So when
yeah,
people say that, I'm like, well, compared to Idaho, sure, everything's more
yes,
expensive.
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I said the same thing, man, when I came from Arlington, DC area out to like East Bay. And I was like, it's actually kind of cheaper here, to be honest, than it is in DC. DC ain't cheap, man.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Well,
As far as you know, you said you're hiking, hanging out with the dog. Obviously, you're hanging with your best friend. Any moments, experiences, or things that you've like really enjoyed over the last handful of months that you just feel like is way different, other than the scenery? We know that scenery, it's just a beautiful place. And any thoughts there, or you kind of covered it all with the doggo and the hikes?
The biggest difference to me is the dog culture here. Like in the States, if you're off leash with your dog and it runs up to someone, like they're like, "Oh, what the fuck is this? Why is it off leash? Whose owner is this? What an asshole." Here it's like, "Oh, look at the cute little puppy. Like, where's your owner? Let's talk it out." Like it's dope. But full disclosure, I haven't gone out much. One, I got sick twice, which floored me for 2 weeks each.
Right.
Two, like it's been winter here. Like I got here midwinter, and the Kiwis hibernate during winter. They don't go out. There's nothing going on during the winter. They all chill, which is very interesting. Everybody talks about summer during the winter. They're like, "Oh, just wait till the summer. It's gonna be the most epic summer. We got all these things to do. It's gonna be fucking blah." So really looking forward to getting out more. Like I don't go out much in general. Like I've never been much of a social bug, go party all the time. I would like to get out a bit more than I have currently. But in terms of things that have really stood out, there's three things. One, which I touched on, is the scenery, and I'll expand on that to say, in the States, you can get to mountains, you can get to beach, you can get to city, you can get to rolling green hills, right? Those all exist in the States, but they don't exist in the same vicinity. You're
Right.
having to drive hours and hours and hours to get to one of them, and
Hmm.
then hours and
Hmm.
hours and hours to get to the next one.
Right.
Here, you turn around 360 and you see pretty much all of that. Like I
Yeah.
can see downtown Auckland from my house. I can see the beach from my house. I look the other way. I can see rolling green hills from my house. I drive 30 minutes one way. I can hike up a epic mountain,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so I really love the convenience and flexibility to get out and have these different experiences in nature. Like you can walk through the jungle one day. You can walk by the beach another day. And the beaches are like the most epic beaches you've ever seen,
Yeah.
and you're also solo on all of these hikes. Like you'll maybe see a couple people while you're going for hours.
Right.
Whereas in the
Mm,
States,
yeah.
find a hot spot, it's gonna be crowded. You're not gonna feel like you're disconnecting and getting out in nature. Here
Yeah.
you lose service like 30 minutes, or not 30 minutes, like 10 minutes out from getting to the location, and then you can't be on your phone. You
Right.
can't connect with people. You can't like do all these things.
Oh, I like
Yeah.
that.
So I really like that aspect of it. The other thing that's really stood out, there's two other things. One, the food culture here is phenomenal. The
Yeah.
food just tastes so much better. All fronts. Yes, some groceries are more expensive, but like going out, talking to that specifically,
Hmm.
the food is so good. It just tastes fresher. It doesn't feel like there's all this crap in it. And even if you go out and have fast food one night, you don't wake up the next day feeling like shit from it. And I actually drilled into that with a buddy here who, like, in high school was working at, they call it Macca's, which is McDonald's,
Yeah.
right? And they did a comparison between the ingredients in a Big Mac in the States versus the ingredients in a Big Mac in Auckland.
Yeah.
And the list in the States was like this long, and the list in Auckland was like this long. And
Yep.
so just like the feeling of I can eat whatever I want and feel great about it, and honestly feel really good afterwards is
Yeah.
amazing. Because I'm a foodie. I love to eat. Like that's what I spend my money on is
Yeah.
food and getting to remote locations. Um,
For sure. Well,
the
you're in a
third
good
part,
spot then.
yeah, the third part is the people, man. I love the people here. The Kiwis are awesome. They're so nice. They're not full of shit. They'll say whatever's on their mind to you, no matter who you are and no matter who they are. And I think something I just crack up to point to this scenario specifically. My buddy and I went out to this place called the Waitomo Caves last weekend, which is basically a whole slew of different caves about 2 hours outside of Auckland. Um, and we had a guide who was probably like this 20-year-old girl, right? She was guiding us through this cave, and we get to this point where she's talking about the glowworms inside of the cave. If you haven't heard of glowworms, go look them up. Crazy little creature, crazy looking in the caves. And Jack and I were the only two people who were like similar to her age. The rest of it was like tourists, like older folk from America, maybe older folk from New Zealand, like, a little bit, you would think they would be a little bit more respectful and formal in those scenarios. And she's talking about these glowworms. She's like, yeah, for however many weeks they're doing this. And then they just screw constantly for 2 weeks and then they die. And I was like, I was not expecting that on a tour with all these like old folk behind us, and she's talking about these worms screwing. Like she used that word, and I was just like, it's just so bizarre. But you can just tell there's no filter and there's no need to filter because there's no real judgment felt from people for saying what you think here, right?
Right.
And I
Right.
think there's a word that probably pops into everybody's mind when you think of Australia and New Zealand, and it's true. I mean, that is said everywhere by everybody, and it's fucking great. I love that. So the people here, the accents, people are nice, they're real, and it's just people are proud to live here too, in a way that doesn't feel uh, uh, like aggressive. They're proud of New Zealand, they're proud of Maori culture, they're proud of keeping the place clean, and it's not really divisive. It's not you don't really have people on either side going at it all the time. It's not very political. So
Hmm.
yeah,
No,
I like it here.
I love that all insight. But the funny thing is, so Asher became a good buddy of ours, and still is a good bud, and he's from New Zealand, and he has the opposite mindset because I just talked to him. So you want to talk about a culture shock? This dude is moving from New Zealand to West Virginia, baby, because he has a buddy that owns like a plumbing company or something in West Virginia. So, but that's all he's ever known, right? And he's like, when you grow up on the island, he's like, you can't go 30 miles without talking to somebody that you like indirectly know. And he's like, I just feel suffocated being here. And he's like, I need to get out, right? So it's always interesting to hear people's perceptions of like, it's the same difference when I tell people I grew up near DC and they're like, oh, that must have been awesome. Well, when you go to the National Mall 5 times by the time you're in 5th grade, you're like, I'm kind of over this, right?
Yeah.
But it's got to be a magical place. Like, I can't wait to go check it out because it's got to be magical going there later on in your life, being able to appreciate all the things you just talked about.
Yeah, every time I post a photo or video, people are like, "Are you in Lord of the Rings? Like, is this a
Right.
fantasy world?" And
Yep.
I'm like, literally how it feels. Like, it's funny.
And
You go to add filters to your story on Instagram usually, and here you scroll through all the filters, and none of them look as good as just keeping it normal.
Yep.
yeah.
So
So that was going to be my question.
go ahead.
Please tell me you've at least gone to see a spot that's from Lord of the Rings. Something.
Not gone to Hobbiton yet, which is like the main attraction where you see like those grass-ridden huts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say I never watched Lord of the Rings before coming here.
All right.
And
Well,
I'm
what
not
I need you to do, hold on. I need you to take your left hand. I need you to put it on the left side of your face. Okay. And now what I need you to do is go right as fast as you can. Just
Hey, I
that's what
will say
needs to happen.
I've watched 2 of them since I've been here.
Okay, fair enough. You went and totally redeemed yourself.
We haven't watched the third yet, but Hobbiton is definitely on the list. We'll probably wait till my parents come out next month to hit that.
That's
It's more about
amazing. I
connecting.
I hear it's amazing. Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's a beautiful place. Like, and what's interesting is what you just said, considering all of the scenes and all of those movies were shot there, and it's like it's so much different terrain, and you're thinking, how is this in one place? It's really amazing. So that's fantastic. I have to ask two quick questions
Send
because
them.
otherwise it's going to scroll up in chat, and people have been asking this for a while. So it's a little bit of a detour.
I already know what you're gonna ask.
Pe-
Fuck off.
People need
Dude,
to know about merch,
dude.
bro.
Merch,
What
bro.
is the deal with
Fuck
merch? They want
off.
their merch.
You
Where's
heard
the
it
merch?
here first from Morgan. Fuck off.
Wait, hold on. I actually wrote a note in my pocket for this very instance if like this got brought up. So it's like, yeah, to all you. Like, that's
There it is. There it
That's the
is. All
answer.
right.
So
So
why
there's your
why
answer,
such
chat.
hatred for merchandise?
uh people it's become a joke, right? Because like the stereotypical roadmap for NFTs was, launch a token, launch staking, launch merch, launch a companion, and that's about it. Meanwhile, we've rolled out everything under the sun except for merch. And so there's a couple people in our community, specifically some OGs like Dabs and Notorious. I will call you fuckers out specifically, who are just on my ass constantly about when merch, when merch, when merch. I'm like,
Dude,
get
let's
some of the other utility that we've offered. That said,
let's
I've got a Root Troop sweatshirt, I've got a Root Troop hat, I've got like 5 Root Troop shirts in my
where's
closet.
the Root Troop Sushi FU shirt, bro?
Whoa,
That's
whoa,
what I want.
whoa. I'm seeing a
Root
business
Troop,
opportunity here. Why
Root
is there not a
Troop.
midlife crisis Root Troop merch collab? Now there's some possibilities.
Just saying.
Could you
Hey, you do
This
mix?
all
could
the
get
groundwork
real
and
nice.
We'll do
you
all
do
the
all the
work.
groundwork for it.
We'll do all the
Easy.
work. We'll do all the work.
Easy.
Don't even work. You wanted to know if we could post something up on your marketplace? That's it. Collab merch. Midlife crisis coming at you. Maddie's got connections, man. He ran a business and did a shit ton of merch. He knows what's up.
Oh, I can merch for days, man. You name it.
Merch
What do
for
you want?
days.
And we can put it on. We can put a logo on it.
So you heard
Look.
that. Everybody that hears this community, please come in here. We just need the designs. Get that merch popping. We'll figure it out.
I will say this on a serious note, which I've told people, is that we've got the merch underway. Like it's set up whenever we want to drop it, but like it just doesn't make sense for us to drop it right now because
Right.
we've
Fair
got
enough.
a huge initiative with the job marketplace coming soon and allocating more time and resources and developing the back end for that. It's just like we've done the heavy lifting so far and we've gotten the designs, we've gotten a manufacturer, we've gotten a supplier, like all of that's set. It's just a matter of us green lighting it at this point, but like it makes sense right now.
Right.
So if you needed maybe a couple beta testers just to try it out, maybe just see how it looks, model it a little bit.
Mm.
If people were interested, how would they? How should they move forward? Because there's some people in chat that seem interested.
You mean like myself, Jack, my dad, my mom, my sister, all the people who did test it over the last several months?
Oh,
I'm just saying, a little diversity. I mean,
a little diversity. Can't be only friends and family here.
Yeah, just saying.
Sorry, guys. Merchant ain't coming yet.
I
but
love
soon.
it.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. There it is. Morgan has spoke. It's
Was
over.
there another question or was it just the merch?
I did, but it's okay. It's not important. It was back on the fitness stuff, but it's not important. We moved on.
So I'll hop in here and believe it or not, almost an hour and a half. This is how much fun that we have. And I know you're a busy man, and this is kind of one of the final things I want to talk about. And then Maddie, you can add anything else in. I'm very interested in that, and the answer's probably similar across the different people that we talk about, but you're insanely busy, right? You moved to New Zealand. You got life to balance, health to balance, a company to grow, employees now. How do you do it, man? What takes you through? What makes you tick? What do you are there things that you think about when you wake up on a daily basis? Are you a planner? I think it's always good to have these conversations with successful people like yourself that have built a project in just an insanely fast space.
Yeah. Good question. It's It's tough though. I mean, I try to take it day by day while keeping the long-term goal in mind each day, right? Like there's always shit that's gonna come up that wasn't in the know the day before, or even 3 hours before, and
Mm-hmm.
you do have to constantly be able to pivot and constantly be able to reevaluate and prioritize tasks. I think I'm an anomaly for a 26-year-old, especially in this space, who lives off of Google Calendar. I live off of email. I live off Calendly. Like, please schedule there. Please email me. Do not DM me. Do not send me a message on Discord. Like, I'm
I
not going to
learned that
accept it.
lesson.
Yeah. And so, as much as I do try to stick to that schedule, you just have to constantly be aware that things, sometimes things are out of your control, and sometimes you will have to reprioritize a daily agenda or a weekly agenda, or even a monthly agenda, right? If you
Right.
had something you were getting out 3 months and something else came up during those 3 months, like you got to evaluate what's the better thing to focus on at that time. The other thing is I have a great team surrounding me, but it's taken a while to get to this point, and we're still constantly iterating. I'm still learning on who can do what and who I can trust to be responsible for which task. Recently, we brought on a project manager who has been with us since the very beginning, and grew from a junior mod to a mod, and now we gave him the project manager role, and it's been a huge help, taking a lot off my plate and being able to manage some of the people on the team that maybe beneath him on the ladder.
Right.
Whereas before, I had my hands in literally every single thing.
Mm-hmm.
That said, there's still instances, as much as I would like to just get to that point where I can delegate, I still got to get in the mud. Like, I'm still answering support tickets. Like, I've still helped out people in tickets the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
I'm still on Twitter answering random questions that are being sent to somebody else on the team. Like, I'm just in front of it. At the end of the day, like, this is my business, this is my baby, and this is what I want to be my future. And I recognize the opportunity at hand. And so I'm willing to get uncomfortable and, get in the mud, get dirty, and, maybe sacrifice some other areas of my life to set myself up in the future.
Yeah.
I've got big financial goals because I want to have a family that I don't have to worry about supporting, and we can travel wherever we want. We can eat whatever we want. The kids can do whatever they want. The wife can do whatever she wants. Like, I want to get to that point, and all of this that I'm doing right now plays a role in getting there.
Yeah.
And so the other side of it is I've got a community to support. I got a community that's relying on me now. They're technically that family into, like, right now in this
Right.
timeline.
Right.
And I've made a lot of promises, and I think I've upheld most, if not all, of those promises thus far. But it's not over. Like, I'm not down to settle with mediocrity. I want greatness for everybody in my life.
Yeah.
And that starts at the top. No matter how much we preach about decentralization, like, it starts at the top. And for better or worse, I'm leading Rue Labs and Rue Troop. I'm the face of it. Everything I do impacts everything that people on my team and community do. So, it's a balance of planning as well as being uh, able to pivot on a dime.
Yeah.
That said, something else I'll point out, which is something I don't see a lot of my colleagues doing, a lot of founder colleagues, not like my own personal team, is I'm really protective of keeping my mind right. Um, there was a point in college, which I don't talk about much, where I was super depressed,
Yeah.
to the point at which it's like the worst of it, the worst you can think of, right? I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna go into that.
Yeah.
Been there,
I
brother.
never, I never want to get to that point again. It stuck with me, right? I don't like who I was during that time. I hate thinking about the things I was thinking at that time. And there are very obvious things I was doing back then that were contributing to that mindset. And there's things that I can be doing now and protecting now to kind of ensure that that never happens again. And I'm someone who's burned myself out of multiple industries before. I've burned myself out of tennis. Absolutely. I've burned myself out of the music industry. I've burned myself out of the working industry, just working for other people. And I know where I went wrong. I got too obsessive and I didn't take time for myself. I didn't, block out time on my schedule to go work out. I didn't block out time to go
Yeah.
hike. I didn't
Yeah.
block out time to go, just cuddle my dog for an hour.
Yeah.
Now I do that because
Yeah.
it's important. And I
Yeah.
realized that the mindset of thinking that, oh, I have to be on 24/7 to be the most productive I can be is false.
Yeah.
I'm way more productive when I block out those couple hours to go
Yeah,
take care of other aspects of my life. If
Yeah.
you
you got
feed
it.
your mind, you feed your body, the productivity just skyrockets.
Yeah.
And that's been something that has really helped me the last several months is realizing that and like just comparing, my work output from, these months where I wasn't doing all these things to my work output now where I am doing all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
Dude.
I would say top line is just be on a schedule, be able to pivot when needed, and look after yourself outside of work.
Yeah.
Realize that work, nurturing those other parts is going to be to the best benefit for the work aspect. So,
Yeah. Maddie, thoughts?
man, I love that. I mean, you're speaking our language for sure. I know Mikey's gonna have some thoughts to share too. It's in a weird way. This actually does go back to the thing I was going to mention about fitness, which is there's a balance, right? You have to keep control. Mind, body, and spirit have to be in balance. Relationships, they have to be in balance, right? And it's amazing to me that we're very good at justifying. And you said it, right? It's easy to say, "Ah, I don't want to go to the gym. I could always do more work," right? We're really good at convincing ourselves to do this thing that is also important instead of doing the other thing that is important, right? And so when it comes to it, one of the things that I think what you just discussed is the concept of discipline. And a lot of people don't like to hear that word, but here's the thing: you can be disciplined in multiple areas, right? And what you just said is like having control of your mind, right? Disciplining your mind is hard. Anybody that's tried to not think about something, it can become a cycle, right? I'm anxious because I'm overthinking, and then you overthink that, and you become more anxious, and it becomes this cycle, right? Um, Start in places you can discipline. Trying to control your mind is tough, especially when you're sinking in it. And Mike can talk more to that. And it sounds like you have some experience with it too. And I've been there. But you can start with daily habits. And the reason, the concept of like waking up and making your bed or something silly like that is so important is because it's not something that you have to do. But if you discipline yourself to do that, you can discipline yourself to do something else. And you start with, for example, to control your body, that's a big part. And when you realize, wait a second, I can make a concerted choice to get to the gym or do the walk or do that stuff, and then you start feeling better. You start having more mental clarity, right? Your cardiovascular strength improves. It improves your quality of life, and you realize, wow, I have the ability to discipline my body, right? Which, by the way, is both physical fitness and with nutrition and proper rest. But when you can do that, I can start finding other areas of my life I can discipline. I can start disciplining my mind. I can start disciplining my words. I can start disciplining my associations. And when you make something like, hey, I'm going to go to NFT NYC and it's going to be work and I'm not going to drink, right? It's an easy decision. You just make a choice and you realize if you make a choice, you will respond. And I just think that's a really important factor for people to balance because you just said a lot of your um, other co-founders and other in the areas, it's hard to find that balance. And we're really good at going all in on one area and then we sacrifice these other areas and man, you tip over. You can't do that. So I
Yeah.
think it's fantastic. I hope more people really soak that in and understand the importance of putting that stuff on your calendar, saving that time because you will be more productive here if you have all of these other areas
Right.
firing on all cylinders.
Yeah. And Matt said a lot of what I wanted to say, but I think a couple things to add on to that. I love how you used your explanation of pivoting, because not a lot of people actually say that because your
Yeah.
days do constantly change and you need to reprioritize all the time. Maddie and I have this conversation all the time. What are our top three things? What should we be prioritizing? Because we can prioritize a ton of things if we want, but
Yeah.
nothing will ever get done. Uh, and then two, um, kind of along the fuck, I just lost my train of thought. It was the balance thing, but I lost it. Maybe it'll come back, maybe it won't.
Yeah.
I don't freaking know. um
Well, any thoughts on because I know because it's the mental health is no joke, man, and you should be commended for pulling. And let me ask you this: did you pull yourself out, or did you have help?
I would say people didn't know the extent of it except for Jack actually. It was the year I was living with him was the worst of it. And that's not because of him. Like I think I am here today because of him,
Yeah.
You had a
partially.
friend.
Yeah.
You had a
Um,
friend.
which is something I was going to go into as well is, having a support system is really critical
Boom.
in this position. Um, especially building in Web3 where it's so public, uh, being able to log off, have a chat with your parents, have a chat with your best friend who's not on Twitter. Like both of my best friends, Jack and Aiden, they don't have Twitter, which I think is just comical because I'm just a fucking Twitter fiend. But I think that really helps me because I can log off, I can talk to them about issues that I'm having,
Hmm.
and they can understand them not from a Twitter sphere, from just a personable position. Um, you know, to that point though, a support system can also be your community. So this is kind of to the founders in Web3 specifically. Don't just treat your community as your customers and as your consumers and as the people consuming your content. Treat them as part of your mission and
Yeah.
utilize, like, support them. And sometimes supporting them, like jumping into a conversation with them or, having their posts on notifications and seeing them post a question that you can answer, even if they've got 100 followers and you've got 25,000 and there's some weird, egotistical expectation that exists in the space, helping them out can really help you out too. It's just
Yeah.
like this act of giving and providing value and being courteous. It comes back to you and it feels good. And
Yeah.
when you are like that and you nurture your relationship with your community and also you're very transparent with them, what you get is this way larger support system, right? I talk about this all the
Yeah.
time on Spaces, which is that we never have faced any FUD in Root Troop. We've been going for a year now. We haven't faced an ounce of FUD. The most of it is the win merch stuff, which is like 90% a joke, except for Dad,
Right. Right.
60% a joke. Um, but the reason for that is we've been very transparent from the start, not just with our successes, but with our fuck ups and like owning up to our mistakes and being held accountable to those mistakes. And every time in the beginning, it's less now, but I still get that feeling when I post something saying like, "Hey guys, we fucked up," or "Hey, there's going to be a delay," or "Hey, this isn't working. We need to revamp this mechanism." There's an anxiety about that to be like, "Oh shit, they're going to react poorly, and it's going to make me feel even worse about this." But every single time we posted something like that, people are like, "Oh yeah, all good, makes sense. Like, hope you're getting the rest you need. Like, I hope you're working out. Like, hope you're going to go play with Nova. Like, do what you need. We're here. We're in it for the long haul. We understand the mission." And just having that expanded support system, even if it's not as personal as the close friends and family support system, that's critical, man. And
Yeah.
it's been a huge
Massive.
benefit to us on the team and the success that Root Troop's had so far.
Yeah. It's massive. And my thought came back to me. I knew it would. Uh, so I actually really appreciated this whole balance thing of your, again, it was a joke with merch and what I've seen you do and what I think a lot of other founders suffer from too are trying to do too much. You're very clear. You're concentrating on um, getting your job board mechanism relationship. What I forget what you called it, but what you're working on now, that is number one priority. Merch. You really don't give a shit about merch right now because you have way other things to do. And that's the other way that you can balance and concentrate on things. I've had far too
Yeah.
often there's founders and project founders out there that exactly what we were talking about need to think they need a token, a swap, a merch, and all of this other shit. And it's just again always seems to be the answer seems to be so simple, which is pick what you're amazing at and do that. You don't need all the other smoke and mirrors, especially at this point because the community's getting smarter. So I just wanted to commend you for that. That was
Yeah,
my
sure.
thought, man. It came back.
And the other side of it is like, does merch benefit our business model? Like, no. Will we make a little money off merch? Probably, but
Right.
like, is that the meat of what we're doing as a company? No.
But
So
it is taking care of your community.
it
Yeah,
is
I was in.
taking
It is. There is a factor about people love to represent things they love. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's look at sports teams. I mean, none of those people are playing, but they love repping their team,
Yeah.
or they love, or that local restaurant or whatever. I mean, listen, I had a small business, right, in a, you know, in a niche market, and our merch flew off the shelves. People just wanted to represent. They wanted to be able to show that. And so and I always wondered, I'm like, man, why are they so excited about anytime we come out with something new, there'd be people that come in and buy it up. And it's just they love to rep something that they believe in. And if they believe in you, they what they're saying is they want to represent. They want to do as much as they can. It's pretty cool, man, because it's hard to get somebody to retweet something which costs 0 cents. If you got
Yeah.
somebody that wants to buy a T-shirt with your logo on it, you're doing something. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's a good
Yeah.
thing.
And
I appreciate that. And trust me, the marketing guy in me is like, fuck, let's roll out merch right now. And
Yeah,
like,
no, I get you. I know. No,
it's gonna
you're
be
focusing on
awesome.
the majors. You're doing
yeah.
what's right. Nothing wrong with that. And you're addressing the fact that it'll get there. It'll get
Yeah.
there.
And
So
then and to layer on the community stuff with the merch, Maddie and I had our one of our many aha moments this past Sunday, and part of, we've got a little paid subscription Patreon group now. And one of the perks is to have, just a one-on-one Zoom call with whoever will show up. And just having that. And we did that, we talked for like almost 2 hours, of course, in trouble again. Wife's like, what the hell you been doing for the last 2 hours? And I'm like, I'm on Discord talking to virtual NFT buddies. Don't you understand what I'm doing? But yeah, that's just that community and just doing these simple things. Because Maddie and I have built a brand off of having conversations. Why are we not spending that time to connect with our community as well? So all awesome, great conversation. I have kind of one more question pertaining to our conversation, and then our new format. We actually have two ending questions that you don't even know about unless you've watched a recent show, which
My
probably hasn't
favorite.
happened. Huh? You can't wait. You should
I
be.
hate when people do this to me because like
They're very
I am
easy. They're very
I am a
easy.
stoner at the end of the day. Give me like minutes to think about my answer. Don't fucking fire shit. No, but it's
No,
all
no, no,
good.
no.
they'll be
This
easy.
is
They're
very
easy. You'll
easy.
see.
We're not.
These are
Us. We're
softballs.
not those people. I do
Okay.
have one
And
interesting question, and I think we want to start adding this narrative in. I think it's, and I found this. I this came back up in my head. Maddie probably doesn't even know I'm going to ask this. Um, we just had the guys that own the IP to the National Lampoons franchise, and they're creating an NFT, which is really cool. But they're not doing it, the shitty. We're going to create a PFP crash grab. Like they're really deeply thinking about how do they utilize the IP and co-create in this space and use Web3 for the good. Which is really, really interesting. But one of the conversations that we had was, dude, wouldn't it be great if there was a podcast that just talked about failures and nothing else? Like successes of like just people, what did you do in the last year? How did you F up? What did you learn from that? So I'm going to pose that question to you. If nothing comes off the top of your mind, please do not feel pressured to just make something up. But you did talk about a lot. You've done a lot in the last 9 months. You went through the Joey incubator thing. You learned about fraud, like probably didn't realize that was going to be as big of a problem, an issue that you have to deal with. You've talked to massive companies. Anything throughout that process that pops up in your mind of what I'm really looking for is what was that failure and what was your big learning experience from that? Because again, I think this is super beneficial for people to be able to hear this stuff from people like you that have been through it, because maybe this is something they hear that helps, start their own root troop or whatever it may be.
yeah, there's a couple things, but I think probably the most relatable one, which I don't hear a lot of people talk about, and it's ironic because I feel like both myself and our team were among the more selective individuals in talking in terms of partnerships. And we fucked up on that front a couple times.
Yeah.
Like, we'll own it. You know, one, there's two sides of it. One, not getting legal agreements in place with partners to establish terms and hold them to those terms
Yeah.
was a fuck up on our part. The second was, you know, just diving too deep into partnerships that didn't necessarily call for it or benefit us too well, and actually ended up harming us. And so I'm not going to speak on specifics, individuals, whatnot. You guys can read in between the lines, but you know, forming a partnership in Web3, it doesn't just affect you and your company, it also affects your community
Hmm.
because there's this big sense of cross pollinating whenever you form a partnership. And I'm not talking about collaborations, whitelist collabs, spaces, all that. I'm talking about real partnerships and value adds and utility trade offs.
Right.
The way we view it is it's going to be long term. It's going to be very cross pollinated. We're going to get on a bunch of marketing activations together. We're going to, build in traits from each other's collections and do our sub collections. We're going to do all this crazy branding stuff together. And what happens then is people start buying into those other projects as you form the partnership because they look up to you as the founder of the project they're already involved in. They're like, oh, well, they're co signing this. Then I'm going to go buy it because they co sign it. And at the end of the day, sometimes you just get screwed. Sometimes things happen that you had no idea were going to happen. Other times you look back and you see a bunch of red flags that you're like, oh, fuck. Like, maybe we should have done things a little differently here. So, I would definitely say we fucked up on a couple partnerships so far. And, those no longer exist. But they impacted more than just us and our company. They did impact us and our company pretty heavily, but they also impacted our community who was
Right.
maybe spending funds that they don't really have much to spend on, these other projects, and then things happen with those other projects. So it's really, be careful, get legal agreements in place and, vet these people, figure out who the fuck they are, what their goals are, what makes them tick, and why they're doing what they're doing in their projects, and explore all the different avenues that could turn into.
Right.
Could it turn into be the best partnership ever? Could it turn into just a mediocre one? Could it turn into be real shit? And why could it be real shit? And what's the impact if it does become real shit? Does
Yep.
that come back to you? And
Yep.
so just looking out for your community in the sense of forming partnerships that will protect them and not harm them.
Dude, I love the insight, and I love things to look out for. I think especially in this space, people are so hot to shake hands, and we'll figure out the rest later. And official documentation, legal agreements, all of those things that traditional businesses do. Hence, why things take so long in the normal world, because you
Yeah.
have to put these guardrails in place, don't really exist here yet, and they will. The trust, the FTX debacle is going to put regs in place because billions of dollars have been lost. And apparently not accounted for too. I think I read there's just been some money disappear as well, and unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's the reality of the situation, especially when you're talking about two massive things that people will never be able to get over, which is ego and money, right?
Yeah.
And when we talk about
Yeah.
those two things, people do shitty things, and you have to put, listen. My
Yeah.
wife's a lawyer, so said that I am the risk taker. She's the risk averse, and that's probably our biggest arguments we have. But it is a necessary evil in my mind to me because it's a hindrance and uh, just takes more time to do it properly.
For sure.
So love that
Yeah.
insight, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that,
And
Maddie. Any thoughts?
well, there's a little bit of irony there. So what I heard you basically say is you should actually vet and check somebody's resume is what I heard.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
super ironic, right? I mean,
Um, yeah.
the issue
But here's the thing: it's a lesson learned, and that's business. And to Mike's point, you were willing to take a chance, right? And I think that that's important for people to understand is that like you have to get out there and you have to make these mistakes and learn. You did, and here's what's cool. Now you are checking those things when it comes to those partnerships because you are keenly aware of what can happen if you don't. And so I just think that these are the things that build. And when you see somebody who's a successful entrepreneur and they're 40, 50, 60 years old, right? And they've been running a business, and you're going to be in a really unique spot because you're in your mid 20s and you're starting this now. By the time you're our age, you're going to be a freaking wizard at all of this stuff. And people will see here's what happens. People think you're just a natural. uh, you just fell off a log and you knew all these things, but they don't understand it's because you've had all of these bumps and bruises along the road, and these are the scars that you're learning from that have put you in a position to know, wait a second, I need to be careful here, or I need to be hesitant here, or maybe a little caution is advised here, or a little risk is advised here. And I think that that's an important thing for people to understand. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
It's absolutely part of the process, um, for sure.
We're chiseling away. You know, we'll get
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
form of it.
But
for sure.
the one thing we all can agree on is you're going to continue to fuck up. I am definitely going to continue to fuck up. And so
Oh,
is Maddie.
Hundo P.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's perfect. Don't ever talk about Maddie like that again. What the fuck?
Well, I also
Hey,
go ahead.
it's in everything. Every successful thing we do requires failing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you were working out and you just,
For
if
yourself.
all you did was, lifted a couple, a couple 10-pound curls and then called it a day, you're never going to get your goals, right?
Yeah.
You have to break yourself down and rebuild. You have to break yourself down. And this is a theme in everything. You see it in nature, you see it in biology, you see it in all of these things. To think it would be any different in success is crazy. It's just the
Right.
nature, it's the nature of success, right? You have to
Yeah.
fail a lot.
Yeah.
My product of it's interesting because Mikey would tell the story and joke about his first experience sparring me in martial arts because he just doubted that. He's like, karate, what does that mean, and he tells what happened the first time we sparred. But what you don't see is the years and years of me getting my face punched in and bloody noses and pulling the braces out of my teeth because I got kicked in the face and getting choked out. It's like I lost way more than I won. It's just that's what you do. You drill. You both are very good tennis players. Same thing, right? You just had to go through the reps and you had to lose a lot and you had to make the mistakes, and that's what made you better. That's just life. What are you grinning at, Mike? You got something you're cheesing
Because
at.
Star Girl just typed. That's why I'm here, Mikey, just to make sure I can handle your screw ups. And I'm like,
Nice.
that is
You know what?
another lesson learned.
See?
To surround your people that can help you minimize your
Use your
screw ups.
superpowers and delegate and find good people that have superpowers where you have super weaknesses.
And
That
the
is for
other thing
sure.
I wanted to say, when you were so eloquently putting your failure and what you've learned is, bro, midlife, Mikey G and Maddie Mintz will sign a legal contract with you as partner any day of the week. You just let us know, okay?
Noted.
And so that's, I mean, dude, we've been talking for 2 hours. It's been an amazing conversation. We've been vibing, caught up on a lot. Again, I know you're really busy, so I want to kind of wind it down. And I do have those 2 questions, unless Maddie, you want to say anything else before I kind of get there.
I have one real quick question.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's quick. Just here you are, mid-20s. You've been doing this now. You're in the space. Just what is your vision for like your next 10 years? You know what I'm saying? I'm curious about
I mean,
this
that's not a quick
because
question. That's a big question.
well, I'm not saying what Rue Troop or necessarily what everything is going to be, but just let me say this on a macro level: is the goal? Do you think it's going to be in NFTs? Do you think it's going to merge into something different? Do you think where do you see this going? Or you going? What's the plan?
10 years is hard to say. 5 years more reasonable and stuff
Okay,
we've thought
sure. Let's do
of.
5.
I see us taking over significant market share from the Web2 giants who have gotten complacent and haven't really innovated in the job market. I see us building up an empire with this platform that we have built. I see us being able to be approached and potentially acquired or sell the thing off to somebody for a ridiculous amount of money, which can then be poured back into funding Root Troop for life as a community, finding new innovative ways to, keep that community together. I think Root Troop is indefinite. It is here forever. It is not going anywhere. I would eventually love to, be at a position where I can focus on the community full time. And maybe there is somebody more corporate handling all of the other shit, which I don't really enjoy doing.
Yep.
I think I'm good at it, but it's not where my heart is at.
Sure.
Uh, I think it's a necessary piece to getting to my goals. And outside of Root Troop though, like just as a person, like I just want to become the best person I can be. I want to continue learning all sorts of things that I don't currently know. Connecting with individuals who may be able to share knowledge and experiences that can help pave my way. And yeah, I don't know, just constantly looking out for my support system and supporting them back. Being able to provide value to all these people who have put me in this position. I think I'm extremely lucky to be 26 and working remote and living in a foreign country with my best friend and my dog. Like I don't take that for granted in the slightest, and I feel like I owe a lot of people for that. And so that kind of stays with me at the forefront of everything. So goal number one is to make this platform the best fucking job platform in the market. And just see what happens from there. I didn't plan to launch an on-chain job marketplace when we started Root Troop, but a
Yeah,
year later, here we are. So I don't
I
know
like it.
what 10 years will hold, but hopefully I've got a wife, maybe a kid on the way, and house that's paid off, and that's all I could ask for.
That's awesome. Cool. Thanks, man. Good.
That was a
I like it.
fantastic response, but then yet again, I'm laughing at chat because Jacob, I think Jacob might be for your community because they're not typically in chat, and they asked how I get. He was like, "Dude, I've been trying to work on a beard. How did you get that beard, Mikey?" And then Buzz replied with, "That beard is a one-time deal, bro. It was generated by God. The mold was then destroyed."
That was a great chat. I did see that.
Oh
That's
shit!
fantastic.
Sorry, I'm just Chad is on fire tonight with the
I know.
zingers,
Good
man.
chats. Good chats.
No, but awesome response. I love that, and again, it kind of goes back to that pivoting thing that you were saying. If you have the right mindset and you surround yourself with good people, and you're truly doing what you love and believe that you're good at doing, the rest will take care of itself. Maddie and I talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
We know midlife will pop off. It's not a matter of if, it's just when. And we just got to keep on doing our thing, right? And surround ourselves with people like you. Legal PDF contract to come. And we'll be doing good, man. And that's all we got to do. And so thank you for that. Great question, Matt. Great insight. I really like that response. And the final two questions. And the first one you're going to be surprised at. The first one is, we've been talking for 2 hours. We've picked your brain. Now the platform's for you. Do you have any questions for Maddie and I? Because we gave you a bajillion questions, and we always like to now lend out the courtesy to ask us questions. Totally cool if you don't have any questions, because it is definitely more on the spot. But we've added that to our closing comments.
I got a question for you guys.
All right.
How many roos do you own?
I have one, and since the blockchain is visible, I wasn't going to say this until after the stream, but on live, I can tell you, I bought an incubator because you got me all jazzed up. So now I own an incubator and a roo. And I think Maddie and I have, we have a community wallet, so that's where our roo is in there. I think it's the evil, I don't know, I forget what it is. It's on my hardware wallet. I haven't looked at it. I think I got that bitch staked too. I have a bajillion coins, so.
In that rula.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've got a million rula if anybody is looking to exchange some, because that
Dude,
shit's,
get some mealworms.
yeah, that shit's been staked since I could stake it back in February.
I said that because mealworms hopped in chat. We see you Midwest mealworms.
Shit.
So yeah, that's our answer. We own a roo collectively, and I just bought an incubator during our stream. You got me excited.
And can I get a big Rudy Roo from both of you?
Maddie,
All right,
I want to hear Maddie do this. Maddie's got to do this solo.
What do I have to say? Say it again.
Oh, come on, you know it. You can give me a Rudy Roo. You can give me a Rudy fucking Roo.
Rudy Roo. There it is.
Oh, I love it. He did it at his most uncomfortable moment right there. You don't understand. You want to talk about public, your fear of public speaking, Matt's fear of just doing over the top acting type things makes him very uncomfortable. We used to play this game called the emotion game, which was my favorite thing we've ever done on stream. And so if you had enough channel points, we would bring up the emotion game and someone could describe a scenario or just an emotion, and then we would count down, and Maddie and I would have to react and replicate that emotion live on stream. Fantastic content. Fantastic content. And my Rudy Roo is a Rudy motherfucking Roo, dogs. That's my Rudy Roo.
Total opposite. Huh?
Yeah.
I mean, 100%.
Love it, love it.
I'm actually
Pretty
going to cut Maddie's Rudy Roo, and we're going to use that on social
God.
somehow.
Here we go. Here we go.
Rudy Roo?
Good questions.
Speak in front of
questions, though.
15,000 people? Sure. Get in an octagon in front of 15,000 people? Sure. Scream something wild and crazy and be Cletus like Mike does? Hell no.
I feel you.
That's where I draw the line.
That's where I draw the line.
And then final question, and this is another easy one. We actually had not done this, and we asked all of this guest, and I mean, it's a little bit of self-serving, but we obviously want your honest truth too. Hundreds of AMAs, if not thousands. Would love to hear your thoughts or any feedback on our show format, how you thought about your time here compared to the other things you usually do in the space.
You guys know the answer to that. I love you both. This is one of my favorite sessions to be on. And I've had a lot of time to interact with both of you now. And just the fact that you're so genuine, I feel like is uncommon in the space. And you can tell that the conversation flows naturally. Like, I hope viewers and listeners can tell, right? Like, I asked Mikey before this, do I need to prep anything? He's like, nah, man, just come on. We're going to shoot the shit. We're going to have a good time for a couple hours. It's like, cool, all good. Yet there were still amazing questions asked, and we went into some topics that don't really get touched on in a lot of other interviews and podcasts. And this is something I've publicly, I haven't called anybody out, but I've publicly shamed just the general sense of podcasts and interviews and spaces hosts in this ecosystem. That most of them fucking suck. I would say like 75% of the ones I've been on are fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Just like they ask me the same questions that everybody asks me. They ask me very just like surface level questions. As soon as I answer, they move into the next question. There's no real diving in deeper to find like the real diamonds within those questions and answers. It's just kind of a waste of time for the most part. But this, on one hand, I feel like we're giving the community some insight to other parts of my life and other parts of my mindset that I might not get to share on other sessions. And the other is that like it's just comfortable. Like I haven't been anxious. I'm not sweating. I do have to pee like a fucking madman right now. But it's flowed really easily. And so it's just been like, this is business for me. But at the same time, I get to kick back with some homies and have a good chat and, share information that might be beneficial to the community as well. So, I think you guys are doing great. I really love when I can tell that hosts ask questions that, show they've done their research and have looked into their guest a little bit further than trying to find that information out on air. I think we dove into some topics that you guys may have found out for the first time, but I think that's because of the questions you asked that lead to those topics and the follow-up questions and the follow-up banter, right?
Yeah.
I mean, honest feedback is like, you guys are fucking dope. I love you both. I'll come back on the show anytime.
Dude, I appreciate it, man. That means the world, and obviously that's good content for us as well to be able to use that. But I can tell that was a genuine response as well, and I think it goes back to what our mission statement has always been, right? And that is bringing back the lost art of genuine human connection. We really, when we start, and fortunately, I think it's just natural for Maddie and I, but like all of those really cool questions come out because we're just interested you as a homie and a dude, right? And if more people could just figure out that it's not a very hard nut to crack. I mean, maybe it is. Maddie and I, the other thing we don't talk about is we've been doing this for years now, right? So we have had some practice at doing it, and we
Not
get
taking into account that people just like one, yeah, they might not have the experience, but they're not bringing on people that they genuinely have interest in, right? And
right,
they're not talking about topics that they genuinely are interested in.
right,
Yeah.
Whereas like, all three of us align, like we talked about this for hours in New York. It's not really about what we want to do, but who we are as people. We really,
Yeah.
really connected on like our individual ethos, how we view. We talked about relationships and marriages and like
yeah,
girlfriends for like an hour of that lunch.
yeah.
And it had nothing to do with Web3. That had nothing to do with business. But if you connect on that level, then you're just interested in the person. You want to talk to them more, and then you can find those nuggets that might not be able to be pulled in a session where neither of you really has interest in each other.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I love that insight. And then to layer on that, it's back to kind of what we were talking about before is there, specifically on the hosts that you said were just not genuine. You probably break down what they're really going after. They're going after views and numbers, which ultimately leads to more money for them, right? And we kind of think of it opposite here, which is like bring in the people that we care about, that are interesting, that are going to give us good conversation and be able to build a friendship and create a bond, and the rest of the stuff that everyone's chasing will come, right? And so we just got to keep on proving that model out and meeting awesome people like you. So I appreciate it, and I'm gonna request one last wild card thing, actually, of Maddie. So I saw in chat. So we're going down this. We're testing all content, Morgan. Like we're just like
God.
we need to create content at such a fierce pace that it's the Gary V model, right? Like make long form content, get 1,000 pieces of content out, and something will stick eventually. So one of the things that is popular online is ASMR stuff. Are you familiar with ASMR stuff? Okay, so Maddie did his first ASMR video. I had tears running down my face when he did it. So I'm gonna talk about what we got coming up the rest of the week.
Just shook because the way I thought you were going with this was like, hey, we're gonna really put him on the spot and have him do that request that just came through chat and do a Rudy Ruin ASMR, and he's gonna be super uncomfortable. But you did a whole ASMR stream?
No. We did a whole ASMR
I just
TikTok.
did a little video, a little
But I
TikTok
am going
video.
that way. I'm
Please
kind
send
of
me that.
I'm prepping the audience for what's about to occur. I'm gonna
Does the
take the
audience
next.
want to hear this voice say
I'm
Rudy
gonna
motherfucking Roo? Because this guy's gonna say Rudy
wait.
motherfucking Roo
Wait
in
a
the
sec.
ASMR voice.
Come
He has
on,
no
bro.
problem
You're
doing
going
it.
out of turn. You're killing me. You're killing
I
me.
had to see your reaction live.
So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take 30 seconds, talk about what you all can expect from the midlife crisis crew the rest of the week, and then Maddie, my request is to sign out the show
Is
in
this
your
the first time that
ASMR
Mikey's
voice.
face is redder than mine? This is
Oh, it's
amazing.
because I'm laughing. I'm so excited right now.
All right, so what do I have to do? What am I doing here?
I'm gonna tell everybody what's coming up, and
Okay.
but first let's just say our goodbyes, and then I need you to close it out with a Rudy Roo, and we'll see you on Thursday. That's my request.
All
So
right, got
Maddie,
it.
I will let you do your closing comments just about our 2+ hour awesomeness that we just had. I'll do mine. I'll talk about what's coming this week, and then Maddie, you can shut us down with a little ASMR.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, as always, a pleasure, man. It's so great to catch up. I love that everything is going great with you with the move. You got the dog over there now. At considerable expense. I cannot wait for you to see Hobbiton and get a little bit more of that Lord of the Rings lore kind of getting in your veins. But it sounds like you're really soaking it up, man, and taking the best. You said in New York that one of the things you were excited about was being able to just. There's something about moving locations and getting into a new place, a new headspace, and you can start fresh. And you said you were going to be able to really dive in and focus on what you're trying to do here. And what's cool is that's outside of a couple sicknesses, that's what you've done, right? You've really been able to put your head down and make it happen. And I love the focus, man. You know what you're doing, you know what you're not doing, and I think that that's a really critical component. You're balancing the things in your life that are important. It's very easy to get one weighted over the other, and it's just, man, it's cool because we make friends on this show, and then it was just neat to see in New York that, like, we hung out and had a great time, and as you said, we align on so many different things. I consider you a friend. You know, when you message me saying what's going on with pre-workout, like, I'm excited to talk to you because you're my friend. And I just think it's really cool. I could have never imagined a year and a half ago when Mikey was telling me there's this crazy things called NFTs, and I was like, I don't even know what these are. When we started doing this, that this was going to be a factor that came out of it, and this is by far the greatest. Mikey and I talk about this. The greatest product that we're getting out of this isn't monetary; it's relationships, and ultimately those relationships are going to be far more fruitful than any amount of ETH or whatever it might be. Long term, and it's just really cool, man. I'm excited for your success. I'm excited for us to keep plugging in, and you know, you could be the first person to be on here 3 times, and I'm excited about that too.
We'll go for the hat trick. I love it.
Go
Exactly.
for the hat trick. Yeah, man.
Uh,
Everything Maddie said. A couple of things that come to my mind. Again, I loved your pivoting insight. I love that you're open. We've built a friendship, and you're able to share, personal things because a lot of people in this space won't do that. So really, really appreciate that. We're here for you no matter what. Cannot wait to continue to build the friendship. I know you're going to knock it out of the park. If you need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out. We know you got your back. And thank you for linking me up with Minsky from Gaming A Plug because they're coming on later this week. So just, little things like that as we continue to grow the friendship and just build together, man. That's what I'm so excited. I know you're going to win. I know we're going to win, and we're going to be able to do it together. And I can't wait to be in person at NFT, whatever the hell it may be. And just do it to continue to do what we're doing, man. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the hell out of you. And with that being said, we're going to wind this shit down with coming up this week. Mikey's going to do his schedule, and chat is on fire because after I tell you what's happening the rest of the week, Maddie's going to quietly close us out with a little ASMR. So Thursday, our friend Jay, who has been kind of a marketing liaison for a couple projects that we've had on in the past, is starting his own project. He actually has a really interesting idea about passes to a work remote franchise that is starting, I think, in the Bahamas. He's bought real estate. I'm not sure, but we're going to learn all about it. And then Sunday, actually, the man, the myth, the legend, Morgan, helped this happen. Gaming 8 Plug coming on. We're going to have a blast. We're going to have a great conversation, tons to talk about. And with that being said, Mikey G and Maddie Mintz and Morgan love you all. Maddie, take it away.
Friends. Actually, let me correct that. You're all not friends. Midlife Crisis only has family. We just want to say, Rudy freaking Roo, we love you all. We'll see you all on Thursday. Midlife Crisis is